Hello, I'm Claire Bignell, owner of the Catena Network, and we're here today with our next Catena Cast. You may recall that we had a chat with Help for Heroes and we were able to meet up with Hero Bear previously. So today, I don't think Hero Bear is going to be joining us. We're at the East Midlands Reserve Forces and Cadets Association. I'm definitely meeting with the Employment Engagement Director, John Wilson, who's upstairs. So if you want to come with me, let's see what he's got to say. So I'm here with John Wilson. You've just told me your role title and I've forgotten it again. It's aged. Help me out.
I'm for the Ministry of Defence, and I'm the Regional Employer Engagement Director, and the region is the East Midlands.
Thank you. And we are here at the Reserve Forces and Cadets Association.
And again, that's East Midlands. This association, like my regional director appointment, is one of 13 across the UK. So there are 13 regions, and the clue's in the title, Reserve Forces and Cadets. 13 regional officers that support the Reserve Forces and Cadets in their region. And similarly, as Regional Employer Engagement Director, my role is to deliver the Defence Employer Engagement Strategy across the East Midlands.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So what is that strategy? What do businesses need to know, I think is the question.
Yeah, and that's a fair question, and it's an important question and it's an important message that we want to get to employers. Defence, like many large employers, faces a number of challenges with regards to their people. And the biggest challenge is that they need to recruit and retain key people. Mm-hmm. And that's both regulars and reserve forces, and there's the connection with the Reserve Forces and Cadets Association. So Defence needs to recruit and retain regulars and reserve forces. Mm-hmm. What Defence also do and have a responsibility for, which other employers tend not to, is to help them transition afterwards.
Yes,
so when they leave forces, when somebody leaves Rolls-Royce, and this is not a criticism, it's just life. Rolls-Royce say thank you, goodbye, finished. Yeah. When somebody leaves the Army, Navy or Air Force, the Army, Navy or Air Force has a responsibility to help them thereafter into Civvy Street to find a job. So that's another element of Defence responsibility. So to recruit and retain regulars and reserves, and to help those people transition back to Civvy Street after their service, they need to do a number of things. And one of those things that Defence believes, and we believe, is through employers. And we know that if employers have an understanding of those needs, then employers in the workplace will be able to help with the recruiting and retention of regulars and reserves. And what do I mean by Defence personnel? Reserve forces, mm-hmm. The families of serving soldiers, sailors and airmen who work for employers in the region, so the spouse, the partner.
Can I interrupt you there? Because this is a plug for one of our Catena members. You're probably aware of them, Recruit for Spouses, who absolutely understand the position that you've raised there. Because military personnel will move around quite often, which means that the spouse, be it male or female,
will face some challenges.
Yeah, they probably only have a job for 2 years and then have to move on again. So yes, Recruit for Spouses will understand that and look to work to create job opportunities or share job opportunities for those people. So there is a big family working for the family that is working with them.
And that family, if we use that term, that family of Defence people includes the serving soldiers, sailors and airmen, and their families, the spouse, the partners, the reserve forces, those that are leaving the forces, service leavers. Many people use the term veterans, and that can conjure up different meanings to different people, but soldiers, sailors and airmen leaving regular service need a job in Civvy Street. Mm. And so that's another part of the responsibility for Defence. And there are clear benefits to business by having these partnering relationships with Defence. Reservists in the workplace, service leavers in the workplace. And employers have told us across the East Midlands that they see the benefits of those people. they see highly skilled, highly trained. Military training will develop a number of skills and attributes in individuals which are of great value in the workplace. I mean, the obvious ones are leadership and management, teamwork, communications, and through military training, all of those skills and attributes are developed in very challenging conditions, very challenging circumstances. And employers have said to me that they notice the difference. Employers have said to me that they see an issue on a shop floor, conveyor belt stops, the first man in there to sort it is that ex-military person or the serving reservist, because they have a can-do attitude.
And they've probably got some knowledge of how to take a tank apart, for example.
And those are the hard skills that employers value. And if employers are looking for somebody who has got skills that are developed through the military and qualifications, and whether that's mechanic, medical. Interesting one that employers also say is they notice people with reserve forces training have fewer sick leave days in a year.
I guess if you've been shot at and been up against the Taliban, then a cold is probably something that you could fight through.
Well, those who are still serving as reservists particularly, because they need to be reasonably fit people. And so they're undertaking military training, perhaps weekly and a few weekends a year, then they tend to be fitter, and so they tend not to have the same number of sick days a year.
But if a business takes on a reservist, that reservist can still be called up and may need to take time out to go on training or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that then leave the employer in the lurch? How do they manage if they're losing a key person from their skill set? Good
question. And let me tell you that since early 2003, across the UK, we, the nation, has mobilised almost 27,000 reservists who went to serve with regular forces, mostly in Iraq and then Afghanistan.
So reservists were in Iraq and...
Absolutely, 26,000 of them during that period. So there's a lot of evidence that it's manageable and that it works and that it's made manageable with the minimum of fuss. How does that happen? And of course, they're absent from the workplace for maybe 9 months at a time. Yeah. So there will be some challenges. It's not without some challenges, but it's manageable. And one of the aims of defence is that the family's not disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Ideally, they don't need the reservists to have to use their annual leave to meet their military training to serve Queen and country, which they would have to do if special leave's not available. No obligation on employers to do that, but employers do it because they see the potential benefit.
So John, do businesses get reimbursed for the training? Because a business may not have a budget of £8,000 to train somebody, and yes, I see the absolute benefit of that, but then for an additional 2 weeks holiday pay, that also has a value. So is there any level of reimbursement for that?
No, for training there is no financial inducement to employers. So why would they do it? They would do it for a number of reasons. Some do it because they see it as part of their corporate social responsibility package. It's contributing to Queen and country. Some say, well, it's the right thing to do. Some do it because they see business benefits. They see that these people are being developed by the military, being trained by the military, and that training, skills, qualifications that they bring back are of benefit to the employer. And potentially there are challenges for an employer. 9 months absence or whatever the figure might be away from the office. And there are some key issues around that. One is that an employer has a right to appeal. So if an employer says, just a minute, I can't afford to lose this person for 9 months for whatever reason, we've just won a tender bid and he's the project manager, then defence will say, okay, we'll find somebody else. So employers can appeal against it.
Okay.
And that's key. And the financial assistance that's available to employers is equally key. And whatever it costs an employer, with reason, there are some limits, but I've never known them exceeded, costs are recovered by an employer from the Ministry of Defence. And it's better than that actually, because if you're an SME, small medium enterprise, then During that period of absence, Defence pay you £500 per month, whether it costs you anything or not. So when you lose a reservist who may be mobilised and you're an SME, you will get £500 a month, and you can claim whatever costs are incurred because of that absence.
That's all really interesting. John, how did you get into this then?
Maybe by accident in a way, and it was meant to be short term 16 years ago, and it's lasted a lot longer than one expected it to be. I had a long career as a mining surveyor, mining engineer. I worked for National Coal Board, British Coal, and then as a consulting engineer with a firm of consultants in Nottinghamshire, at the time when the mining industry was on the demise, and so I was thinking about retirement. When the Ministry of Defence launched this national strategy to engage with employers, and they were establishing 13 posts around the UK, and I applied. I threw my hat into the ring for the East Midlands role, and it was on 3 days a week in 2002. That's how it was funded. It quickly became fully funded, and it is now. It's a full-time role, and I'm one of 13 in the region doing it, and it's extremely rewarding. My patch is the East Midlands, so it's a big patch, Northamptonshire up to Lincolnshire and everything else in between, engaging with employers of every size and shape, public and private sector. In Derby alone, we have Rolls-Royce, Bombardier and Toyota. They're all engaged with us. They've all signed the Armed Forces Covenant to say that they will aim to support defence personnel, as has every NHS trust in the region. And the local authorities are engaged with this.
So I should say at this point that size does not preclude you signing the Armed Forces Covenant, because I, as Catena, have signed the Armed Forces Covenant. So, as you say, it is just that visible support for what you are trying to do.
Yeah, and it's worth just reflecting on the Armed Forces Covenant for a few seconds. The Covenant. Enshrined in law, Armed Forces Act 2011 enshrines the Armed Forces Covenant in law, and it's an opportunity for any organisation, employer, charity, any employer organisation. It's an opportunity. The Armed Forces Covenant provides an opportunity for any organisation to declare publicly that they have an understanding of the needs of defence personnel, and where possible will do what we can to support them. And across the UK, now approaching 3,000 businesses have signed it. Here in the East Midlands there are 288 have signed it. And across the UK at the rate of about 23 a week are signing the Armed Forces Covenant. That's very important.
It is.
And anyone can do it.
And anyone can get in touch with you in the East Midlands,
absolutely.
Or you could refer them to...
You could Google Armed Forces Covenant and you'll find the details, and you'll also find on there my contact details.
We'll put that at the end of this production. So just tell me, before we end, just a little bit about you. So have you had, you seem a gentleman with some military bearing. Have you had a military? You do.
I have a quasi-military involvement. I was commissioned in what was called the Reserve Forces Commission back in the 1970s to serve with cadet forces, and I joined that as a young cadet back in the 60s, and then as an adult volunteer in the 70s, and I did that for 44 years.
44 years. So what rank did you?
Colonel.
We are in the power, in the presence of...
And I had local, regional and national appointments during that time, 44 years. Working with the youth, working with Army Cadets. I'm still involved a little bit on the periphery, not in uniform, but I'm a trustee of the Council for Cadet Rifle Shooting, and I chair a national committee that's responsible for the selection and training of target rifle teams that shoot for GB overseas. So we pick British cadet rifle teams who go to Canada, South Africa and the Channel Islands each year to shoot.
And potential Olympic athlete contributors as well.
Good question. You'll know that the Commonwealth Games have recently taken place in Australia. The winners were England. Runners-up, second and third were Wales and Scotland. All pairs, so 2 English, 2 Welsh, 2 Scottish, all 6 were former cadets.
Really?
All 6 of those Commonwealth medalists were former cadets. So it
So
does
could be a
provide
good training
opportunities.
ground.
It does
Yeah.
provide opportunities.
Excellent. John, thank you so much for your time
It's
today.
been a pleasure.
It's been so interesting learning more about this. As I say, I've signed the Armed Forces Covenant. I thought I knew a bit about what you were doing. I have found out so much more. So thank you very
It's been a
much for
pleasure.
sharing with
Thank
that.
you.
And anyone can get in touch with John directly. We will put some contact details down below. But this might be something that your business could get involved with to your benefit and other people's. So thanks for joining
It
us,
is.
and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thanks very much.